It's the Teller Drawer. Real talk, real money, real people.
Credit unions were started by communities.
The standpoint of just being a credit union, it's kind of our job to go beyond.
Listening to the community. What are the needs?
CSE can come in and they can do financial literacy.
They're going to get that balance. They're going to get that purchase amount.
If you reach out to us, we'll help you.
The big myth is that it's always banks beat credit union.
It takes a lot of A's to get to a D, to get to a B.
Welcome back, everybody. We're excited to be here for another episode, another podcast. We're here in studio here at Lucas Live Studios. I'm Lucas Tyndale. Excited to be here with my good friend Tim from CSE. And he always brings special guests, friends, people into the studio who know more about banking and credit unions than I do. So I represent you to talk about these things, to learn about these things, to ask the questions you want to know. So here we are again, Tim. What are we talking about today, and who do you have here with us?
We're going to be talking about all things cards, debit cards, credit cards.
Baseball cards, football cards? No,
we can.
Oh, we could. Okay. I
don't know much about that.
Okay, I don't know anything about that. We're talking about like banking type things. Okay.
Yeah,
we're still on banking. I got
it. We're still on the credit union.
All right.
But kind of feel like DJ Khaled, because you're right. We always bring friends, and another one.
And we got another one.
We got DeAndre, who is in charge of all things, payments at the credit union.
Okay.
DeAndre.
This is the guy.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah. I always feel, before you say that, I always feel it's funny because we have episodes and you show the person, right? And that's how, at home it is. It's so community that there's like this person and that person and these two people do this thing. And then I feel like we should protect them because I feel like it's like if something happens to them, the whole department's gone.
We're not spread out across multiple cities, multiple states. We're all here
like that's
in the same building. So
here's the guy here right now.
You're going to go into witness protection.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, we're going to blur his face out on the episode. So you guys, nobody try to hurt him. All right, go ahead. Tell us about yourself.
Perfect. Yeah, definitely. My name is DeAndre. Glad to be here and be able to provide some of my knowledge to the rest of you all. Been working with CSE for a few years now from the city of Canton. So really happy to be able to contribute today.
That is true. We got 3 Bulldogs right here. So.
Hey, let's go. I love it. Canton McKinley Bulldogs, for anybody listening anywhere around the world. Greatest high school.
Kind of a big deal.
NFL started here in Canton, Ohio. Canton Bulldogs, all that. Pro Football Hall of Fame, just little stuff like that.
Excellent plug.
Yeah. Okay, good. Had to do it. So what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? Cards. I know, let me say a little bit about what I know. I know credit cards, debit cards. I know that, right? I remember my mom had an ATM card when I was a kid. I don't think it did debits or anything. I think she could just go to the green machine, and then it was the Mac machine. And I was always like, ooh, I thought she could just magically get money out. It was cool and fancy. And then when I became of age, I had one too, I think. And then they became debit cards, which was pretty cool. And then more and more stores had them. And I remember going to McDonald's and I thought, one day they're going to take these too. And they did. And I was like, ooh, this is great, right?
I remember when I first got mine, I was, 16 years old. It was like, you can do 2 things with this a month and then it's going to cost you this.
Oh,
and it was so restricted. You didn't do a lot of stuff.
I forgot about
outside
that.
of going to the ATM to withdraw up to $100 or whatever it was. So granted, I was young. I didn't have a lot of money. $100 was like, cool.
I know, this is huge.
A lot of money anyway. But yeah, so they've changed a lot. And people, you're right. People know debit. They know credit cards. But what is that?
What is that?
All these cards in my pocket, in my wallet, they all do the same thing, right? Or they're all, how does this work? So that's what we're trying to do today is explain what is the difference between a debit and a credit card? What are the pros and cons to having both?
Right.
Because there's some things that you could do with both cards that might be really great and beneficial, and then there's some things that might really hurt you. So making sure that people understand
it's good to know
how to use a debit card appropriately or how to use a credit card responsibly saves you time, saves you money, saves you headache. There is nothing worse than going to check out at McDonald's or wherever, insert card declined or insert card failed payment. Well, I know I have money or I know I have whatever on why isn't it working? And then people get all upset.
Yes.
I've been there.
Yes.
It stinks. It's embarrassing. It's whatever.
Mostly
so
embarrassing.
We want to make sure that that doesn't happen. And certainly there are things that are out of our control that sometimes, behaviors change, patterns change. You've said it a few times on different episodes. I'm in scary LA or wherever, and all of a sudden my card's not working. Sometimes things like that happen because there's protections in place. But we're just going to try to clear up some of those confusing aspects of cards. And
I love that.
We'll go from there.
I love it.
Perfectly.
Awesome.
So where did we start?
Right.
I think that's a great segue, Tim. I think just starting with the description of what a credit and debit card is and the difference between the two. So I'll start with a credit card. A credit card's essentially borrowed money. It's up to a limit that your financial institution will set, which is either your bank or credit union, for example. And that's money that you have to pay back at a later date.
Kind of like a loan.
Exactly.
Very much like a loan. So you get a credit card. It's called credit for a reason. It either you might need credit.
Yeah.
It might give you credit. You might have to have a credit score. There's a lot of things tied to credit with credit cards.
Like you might need a PlayStation.
That's perfect.
Right? Like my first credit card when I was in college, they set up in the little student union and they got us credit cards for no reason. We didn't need them. And it was a Verizon Visa or something, right? And I signed up and I was like, ooh, they gave me $500 and a PlayStation cost $300 and a controller cost $50 and a game cost $50 and boom, to the max, got a PlayStation, living my best life, right? I'm about to fail out of college because I got a PlayStation and I'm majoring in PlayStation, right? But it was like crazy. I was like, free money, that's amazing. And then a bill came. I'm like, wait a minute.
Right.
And I knew there would be a bill. I mean, obviously I knew it was a credit card, but then it was like, man, this is stressful.
But there's a lot of people that don't realize that bill comes.
That bill does come.
Exactly.
With a credit card, there's bills involved, but there's responsible ways to use it and ways that bill doesn't need to surprise you.
Right.
And ways that bill doesn't actually cost you any more than the cost of that PlayStation. So
right.
We'll
and maxing that thing out day one is not madness. That was not a good move for PlayStation. Is madness. Anyway,
maxing that out ever is not.
It's never good. It's not good. Okay,
we'll get into
We'll talk about that.
Exactly.
Okay,
We'll definitely get there.
We'll talk about that. Okay, good.
But conversely, I'll touch on a debit card. So a debit card, unlike a credit card, is linked directly to your checking account. So when you spend and make a purchase, that money comes directly from your account. There's no additional money that you have past that in your account outside of a standard overdraft protection, which some members do have, which is very beneficial, especially in hard times. But the difference between the two is really that credit is essentially a short-term loan where the financial institution will pay for you. Debit is your money that you're spending right then.
Yeah, so debit cards, in essence, is I'm buying for something today, I'm paying for that today.
Yep.
A credit card is I'm buying that today, I could pay it off today, but again, the most likely scenario is that I get a bill 20, 30 days later saying, hey, you made this payment or purchase, now you owe us this money back.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yep.
So from there, how does it work? So debit card is pretty simple. You buy now. In some cases, there are holds or things like that. So a lot of times people think, hey, the credit union, I paid for my McDonald's and it was $8.72.
Right.
Why is that money not come out? Well, it might be the way that McDonald's processes that transaction. There may be a hold. So it might not come out today at 12 o'clock when I go to lunch.
Right.
It might come out tonight at 7 o'clock. It might come out tomorrow at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
But that money comes out of your checking account.
Yep.
And then that's how you pay for that. And to DeAndre's point, there's no bill for that later.
Right.
So, and then a credit card, that same McDonald's transaction, $8 and whatever odd cents. Now I'm going to get a bill for that later, and then I owe that money later at a different date. So
Right.
Exactly.
I don't remember where we were.
No, that's good.
That was exactly it.
That's real.
Okay.
That
Yes, sir.
happens.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sweat.
And I'm interested in, and we may get to this, but let me jump in with a question for me because like I've mentioned in other episodes, I do a lot of traveling, did a lot of traveling as a corporate trainer. I'm all media. Now I'm quit that life. No, I'll do a little bit of it. But I did a ton of traveling. Right. And I for several years was like trying to be like no credit, like I no credit cards. Like I just wanted to be like anti-credit. Like I had this philosophy for a minute and I was just like, credit is all bad. You go through those different things where you listen to different gurus and you feel different ways about stuff. Right. And, but I was starting to, some places I would have trouble getting a rental car or they would put bigger holds on debit cards because they were like, no, I don't know. I don't know. There was more protection on a credit card or something. I was like, well, I still have a limit to the credit card. There were times where I'm like, I didn't have more credit on the credit card than I had money in my checking at times. I'm like, I got $1,000 in my checking at this moment, and I didn't have that much on my credit card at times. There were times I'm like, how does that even make sense? So what is that about? I mean, why is there more protection to a credit card, or why do people see that? Do institutions see it as more credible or something, or you must have been credit worthy to have a credit card, and that's why I don't know.
That's a great question. For sure. So really, it's about the fact that when you pay with a credit card, it's the financial institution paying for you. There's that promise to pay from the financial institution. So in the end, the merchant's going to get that money for the purchase. it's up to the financial institution to take it up with you in your agreement with them when you got that credit card thereafter.
Right.
Whereas with a debit card, it's your money. Now they do what's called, to Tim's point, he mentioned a little earlier, what's called an authorization. When you first make that purchase, it's them checking to verify that your account is true, active, in good standing, has the money to pay for that. Now with a credit card, again, they're going to get that balance. They're going to get that purchase amount directly from the financial institution. Debit, they'll see that you have that amount, but there may be some differences. Now, when they do that authorization, I do want to point out that they put a hold on both of those, a credit or debit card. There's a hold for that amount.
Not at the same time, on whichever card you use.
Exactly.
Okay, right.
Yes, whichever card you use. And then it depending on how the merchant processes, that payment may come out later, or will come out later. My apologies, but at a later date.
But sometimes they put holds that are just holds, like a hotel.
Exactly.
Like, we're holding it just in case you tear up this room, but if you don't tear up this room, we let the hold go.
Yeah, right.
Exactly.
Or gas stations. We see it all the time at gas stations. I went to pay at the pump and I've got this $100 hold on my account, but I already got my gas.
Man, that happened before.
When
the way they process that transaction, and that's nothing to do with CSE or a financial institution. That's how a merchant processes their transactions. So, yeah. But to your point, you would ask about the protections and stuff like that. So,
like why are they? Because I'll go some places are like they'll take a debit card. Some say we have to do a soft credit check to take a debit card. So these are car rental places I'm talking about. And but anybody, the credit card, cool, no problem. But debit cards are a little funnier about when it comes to things like that.
And in some cases that is true or the case. That just depends again on that merchant.
Yeah, that's that.
But as far as protections on purchases, so there are protections that you've got as a card holder. We work with Visa and MasterCard for our portfolios, if you will, which is our cards.
Right.
There are protections from Visa. There are protections from MasterCard. There's protections from the credit union. There's all kind of different layers to that. But there are, I guess I want to make sure we clarify, protections are also up to you as a consumer. So if you go and you actively participate in a scam or fraud or something, or you willingly give out your debit card ATM number, never give out your debit card ATM number. If you come in and you're like, hey, I made this charge, or I see this charge on my statement and I didn't make it, but I don't know. Well, like my son came home with a PlayStation.
Right.
Well, how did he make that transaction? Well, I gave him my PIN number. Well, as soon as you give out that PIN number, your protections are very, very limited and very, very difficult to recuperate.
Right.
But if there are legitimately fraudulent transactions, you go to a merchant and that merchant gets breached, or meaning that all of the information that they store in their systems is out there.
Yes.
There are protections against that. So if all of a sudden I'm starting to see, Walmart transactions in Canada or something crazy, okay, well, it's pretty easy for us to track down that those are illegitimate transactions. So there are protections, in place for those. You could certainly, DeAndre, talk a little bit more about protections.
Definitely. I mean, very similar protections from both a credit and debit card perspective. The big difference that you'll want to keep in mind is with credit, it's not right out of your wallet right away.
Right.
So you still have your money that's set aside, and say you did have that fraud that Tim mentioned. In a credit scenario, you typically don't feel that impact as much. So it feels like a better protection again for you. Now, from a debit perspective, there are other things in place as well. So there's something called a provisional credit. So if you did have fraud against you, we give a temporary credit to say, here, we understand that you still have to have money to survive. We give that temporary credit for the whatever purchase that was fraudulent in that amount, while we essentially take it up with the merchant, specifically from a fraud perspective. You did not participate in that transaction. We understand. Here's this temporary credit, while we go to the merchant, and it's the burden of proof is what they call it. What you have to say, they have to prove that it was you that made that transaction otherwise. Whereas with...
I have to ask these questions, because these are real life things that I've been through, okay? And I'm sure people out there have been through. And as we technically explain, I want to ask the questions that people are probably like, wait, okay. somebody. So I had a company that I was working with. I canceled my subscription to this thing, and they charged me again. And I came to CSC, and I was like, they're still charging me. And they were like, okay, cool. We'll give you a provisional credit. We're going to try to work it out.
Yes, sir.
I'm not sure what do you guys do? Like drive to Timbuktu and chase people down? You got big bad guys. Like, what I'm like, I don't know what to do. These dudes, the company was somewhere else. It was some other country. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I've called them. I've emailed them. And you guys asked me, like, can you send us the emails you sent them? I'm like, yeah, I sent them emails. Like, yeah, I don't know. I don't want the big bad guys coming to me, from this other country. I don't know who these shady people are. And I don't know. But I didn't want this anymore. And so I don't know. What do you guys do? Like, how do you, are there times where you guys have to take a loss, or do you guys, like, what happens on the back end? I'm just curious.
There's certainly times where we have to take a loss. Another great question that actually, a quick explanation before I answer your question. Sure. What you just explained was a dispute. And there's a difference between a fraud and a dispute. Okay. Fraud, essentially the easiest way to say it, you didn't participate in the transaction if it was fraud. A dispute, you did participate. You had business with that merchant prior. In your case, you canceled.
Right.
You sending that information that shows I canceled, I got their email or whatever they sent me that shows I canceled, you essentially proved that you did what you needed to do to stop them from charging you, and you were charged incorrectly. Right. When you shouldn't have been. What we do on the back end is we'll give you that provisional credit, and then we work with a third party to essentially go to the merchant and say, hey, here's the information that shows
really
they
big
canceled.
Dudes, third party.
Yeah.
Third party. Big dudes. Okay.
Right. They back us up.
Okay, they got your back. Okay, I like that.
But we go and we say, essentially stop charging our member here. Right. And give us our money? Because that was your money. Exactly. And in those dispute cases, you have all the proof you need. There's 100% of the time, we're going to get that money back. That provisional credit is going to become permanent on your account. Yeah. You won't see those charges going forward. Right. Now, fraud in that case, a little different. You didn't participate with that merchant. We're going to go back and forth with them. And we're gonna get that money back.
Try to recoup as much as you can. We've got insurances in place for losses that we have to take. But then we're working with you. We got to get you a new card number. Yep. Hopefully we don't have to get you a new account, but if it's tied to your debit card, they don't have your account and routing number. So oftentimes you put a block on the existing card, you reissue a new card. We actually have the ability to issue credit and debit cards at our offices.
I love that. That was so cool.
It's called instant issuing machines. Instant. That's the key word there. Yeah. You can walk out today with a new card. You come in, you open an account, walk out with your debit card today. You don't wait 10 to 15 days.
Did you guys hear this, ladies and gentlemen? At CSE, they don't print money, but they do print credit and debit cards.
We don't print money, but we print the cards.
I was shocked. They were like, hold on, I'm like, they're going to bring me some weird piece of paper or something with some numbers on it. There's no way they're bringing a card. And they brought a card. I was like, this is a real card. It was the card.
You don't even have to wait for a new one to come in.
And I think there's only a few people who know to do it, though. Because I was at the North Camp Bridge and they were like, it hurts my arm. Like, what is it? Like, I don't know. It's like some crank machine. You got like step down. I don't know. But they were acting like it was something fancy. They didn't even. She was like, I don't know.
Depending on when you went, they might not have had the machine.
Okay, they were okay. Was it Myers Lake or something? Maybe it was something.
All
like that.
four of our offices now.
Do they all have it? Okay, okay.
Regardless of which office you visit, come in, leave it.
That's incredible.
So it's not. I should say it's not instant. You have to wait like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
But 10 minutes.
Wait longer than
10 days.
Right. That's amazing.
Exactly.
Let me know.
And it's always ideal if you call us ahead of time, let us know that you're coming in to get it. Right. We'll send you a text and let you know when it's ready.
That's awesome.
So there could be no wait time if you give us a call in advance.
When should I have a question? If my card is due to expire, as mine is right now, Mr. Card Guy, my business debit card expires 1/25. So that's soon.
That's a great question. Because this happens all the time.
So
people are like, hey, it's November and it expires in January.
When should I be looking for?
I get that?
And like most people, I get tons of mail that I hate. I don't like mail. I don't even want to open mail. Mail is like email now. There's so much junk in there. There's so much ads. And I barely want to look at mail, right? Me and my wife are just like, who the heck's going to deal with this? And sometimes I bring it here and just sort through it one day because I have to. And it's like, I probably should have known about that. And I pay my bills online, so I don't even have to open the stuff. So When should I be looking for that to come? Should I go in there and get them to print me one real quick? Should I, I've literally been thinking about that. And one of my merchants or somebody emailed me and said, hey, it's about to expire. We're going to need a new one soon. What's up? And I was like, you're right. So what should people be looking? When should they be looking for it? Because that would be smart.
So we typically send out new cards 60 days before the expiration.
So I should have a card somewhere?
Yeah, it should be coming now. You should always check the mail.
It should be in my mail. So you're saying, so I'm less than 60 days out. So are you suggesting it's in my mail somewhere in that stack?
Potentially. Yeah, I would definitely double check the stack. But yes, I was going to say it is soon. So it's standard, U.S. mail. You could have, a couple weeks potentially for it to come. But keep in mind that your credit and debit cards are always valid until the last day of the month that they expire.
So if it says 1 of 25, that means it's good through the last day.
So are we talking about, so is 60 days now, December 1st?
Exactly.
So we're just now at 60-ish days as of the end of November.
So basically the first day-ish of the month prior to expiration is around the time.
Okay, so I'm thinking the first, I'm thinking January 1st, 25. You're saying the end of the month.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm thinking I'm late. Okay, cool. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah,
okay, so I'm going to go home. It's going to be there today. Watch.
Exactly.
It's going to be amazing. How cool.
Yeah.
But it'll be in an unmarked envelope. It looks very inconspicuous.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
You won't recognize that it's from CSE. It doesn't have our logo. It's not flashy.
Okay, good.
Usually they're in plain white envelopes.
Yeah.
It'll say whoever that recipient's name is.
Yeah. So that nobody knows to steal.
That happens regularly. And there's reasons for that. We don't want to advertise, hey, get your new card here. So that when anybody that's got access to the mail sees that, they're not saying, oh, I'm going to take all these cards.
I know, right?
Exactly.
But definitely comes in an inconspicuous manner.
Yes.
So watch for that.
And another thing that CSE has in place to protect our members is when you get that card and call to activate that, it will only allow you to activate it from the phone number that we have on file.
Interesting. That's smart.
If someone were to take that debit card, they're typically not able to activate.
That wasn't always the case, right? Because we didn't.
But make sure your information's up to date. And you change cell phones because
people do.
You don't have a stalker.
People do.
People change numbers, or they'll just call from, hey, my wife's sitting right next to me. I'm gonna just grab her phone and call. You gotta get it from the number that's on file.
So then, what's the other alternative if you've changed phone numbers because somebody hacked your phone or something crazy? So you had to get
just update your stuff with us and
update it on the mobile app, or just stop in a branch. Okay. We're always happy to help you from there.
Great.
Definitely.
Good stuff.
Exactly.
Good stuff. Love it.
Oh, yeah. Now, also, while we're talking about keeping phone numbers up to date, since we do mail those cards, another reason to keep your address up to date as well.
Yeah.
People move, we understand, but we don't want your card to be shipped to your old address.
Right. The new neighbor's like, woo.
But hopefully they can't activate it.
Exactly.
They're wrong number. Yeah. And then if they walk into the branch, you guys know it's not. They're like, we know our people. Get out of here. All right. I like that.
So I want to make sure that we clear up something that we get a lot of questions. How do credit cards actually not cost you more money? So hypothetically, let's say I just applied for a credit card, received a credit card. My credit limit for round number purposes is $1,000. I can spend up to $1,000, or I can spend less or nothing or whatever, but I've got $1,000 that I can spend with that credit card. People think that if I go out and I buy a tank of gas for $50 or my groceries for $100, that all of a sudden that's now going to become $200 for my groceries instead of $100 because credit cards charge you interest or they charge you more in fees or whatever. You can buy your $100 in groceries from wherever you do your shopping and still pay $100 for those groceries. We want to make sure people understand, how does a credit card actually work to where it doesn't cost you more money? Because you can have a credit card and never pay a dime in interest. And we hear people all the time questioning that, saying, that's not true. That's not how credit cards work. Well, if you pay it off in time, that's how it works. So you want to talk about that, DeAndre?
Certainly, Tim. I'll take it over. So in that example, you're buying your $100 in groceries. The way to avoid interest is by making sure that you pay off the balance of that credit card before the last day of the statement period. So with credit cards, you'll have a statement period, a start date, typically about a month, 30 days. And if you say you make a purchase on the second day of the statement period, I'm not going to say of the month because those can vary depending on your financial institution. you make that purchase on the second day. As long as you pay off that entire balance by the end of the statement period, you will not be charged interest. So that's definitely how you can also use that to build credit. So you're going to start to build up credit history while paying off and not paying any additional interest.
Great.
So
it's awesome.
And a credit card impacts your credit or your credit score in two different ways. One, it looks at your credit limit and your credit bureau, the information that shows up on a credit report,
right,
says, hey, DeAndre or Lucas or whoever we're looking at, they've got 5 credit cards, and let's just say the total limit of those credit cards is $5,000.
Right.
So it will say you've got credit available up to $5,000, which means you're probably pretty trustworthy, which impacts your credit score in a really good way. And then it also looks at, do you pay your bills on time? And do you carry a balance? How much of that balance do you pay? So the more responsible you are, and by being responsible, I mean making payments on time, and then keeping your the overall amount of money you owe of that $5,000 as low as possible.
Yeah,
it reflects on your credit report.
That's called credit utilization.
Exactly.
Look at me.
Yep. See, I wasn't
I'm an expert. I know you weren't, but see, when I know something, I got to throw it out there because I represent the people and I pay attention to a couple things. You know,
pat yourself
credit.
on the back
I've been watching TikTok a little bit. I know credit utilization. Yeah, so that's what that is, right? I'm testing myself here to see how much you've been utilizing of your credit. You have $5,000. You're using $4,099. They're like, whoa, you are at the margins. You're at the fringes. Nobody should give you any more credit because you live at the edges. And
exactly, and it shows that you might not know how credit works, or you're just not living within your means or something. If you keep that at $1,000 or less, then hey, we see that as a really good thing. You're responsible. You're not living this luxury life when you can't afford it, or all kind of different things. So,
and ideally, you want to keep that below 30%.
Below 30%. Yep.
Interesting. So you have $1,000 limit, $300. And
it's such a fascinating thing, though.
It really is.
Let me say how fascinating this is. To the person who could keep it under 30%, they don't need all that credit. So it's like, what is the point of all this? And then you go to all the stores and they offer you a credit card. So in theory, it would make sense to take the card from every store and then keep those low, because now I have all these credits and now I have all this opportunity for utilization and I keep them all at 30. Is that what you're supposed to do? Because that's almost what you just said would make the most sense. That's what it would make the most sense to do. Yes, so, that's the correct answer. No, I don't know, but I go to Macy's. I'm like, no, I don't want another card. I have a credit card. If I really wanted to put it on credit, I could just put it on the credit card I have. For my good friends at CSE, that only charge me 18% or less. I don't want your 25% credit. I don't.
Definitely not. Right.
Exactly.
But, so it really depends. So,
and I'm not. This is not a CSE problem.
No,
this is the way credit is set up. So I'm just saying what you just explained, to keep it at 30%, because really my thought is I want to put everything credit that I have on my CSE credit card, because you guys have the lowest interest rate.
There you go.
That's what I want. Yep. But then that means I have to always get CSE to see me as credit worthy for $20,000 or $30,000. Like, I don't know what you guys go up to, but that would mean you guys always have to see me as worthy of having something to where I could always keep it at 30%. But you may not. But Macy's will give me a little bit more, and this store will give me a little bit more, Walmart will give me a little bit more, and Amazon will give me a little bit more. And then I have to play this game with the interest. Now, I suppose if I'm going to pay them all off, then it doesn't matter. But then I suppose if I could afford to pay them all off, I could use my debit card.
That's true. And it really kind of depends on where you're at. One, financially, but two, in relationship with your money, with all kind of different, this is a whole nother episode.
I'm sure it is. And I'm just representing the people. These are my honest thoughts. You know what I mean? Like, this is some of the things I think, like, those of us who aren't educated on it, weren't raised to be educated. I was not somebody who was ever raised. Even as an adult person now, I still feel like it's things I'm learning. It's like, I don't know that I get it. And some days I want to throw my hands up and say, I don't care. Forget it. I don't know. I'll make the money I make. I'll buy what I can buy. I said it on another episode. Everything in the studio, I just paid for cash. I worked hard. I know how to produce. I can go work hard, and I'll figure it out. And as an entrepreneur, I'm living the entrepreneur life, which is like, there are times where I'm living on the fringes because I know my investment is going to pay off in the long run. And one day I'm never going to be worried about money again, even to the point where credit won't matter, because I know I'm going to produce enough. But in this stage,
to pay that off when you need
whenever
to pay
I want to.
Right, exactly.
But in this stage, it's like, I risk this to get here to even have a place like this for you guys to come and do a thing like this, right? So it's a tricky, weird space. And again, you guys didn't make up the credit system, and there needs to be a system to measure whether people are credit worthy. So I get it, but I think the average person is like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, no, I think we'll definitely need to do a episode specifically about credit.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah.
But to answer your question, it really doesn't matter. The credit report looks at, it doesn't matter if you have 1 card or 10 cards.
Right.
It looks at your total
overall credit.
limit. So if you have 1 card at $1,000, you have $1,000. If you have 10 cards at $1,000 each, you've got $10,000.
Right.
And the Bureau will look at, if you have $1,000, 30% of $1,000 is $300.
Yep.
If you have $10,000 in total limits,
30% is
it's looking at
$3,000.
$3,000.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter if that's all on CSE's card or if that's spread out on $300 on every card.
Right. Exactly.
The Bureau, and for credit reporting, is looking at your overall financial
utilization.
picture.
Yes, my big word that I know. Utilization. If you guys need any other big words, I know them. I'll help you guys out. I got you.
And too, just to kind of like give a recap, and this might play into that on what a credit card's for. There's kind of really 3 big things I look at for what a credit card is used for. The biggest one to me being a way to build your credit history leading to building your credit score overall. Keep in mind, if you open all of those credit cards that you got offers for, that's going to ding your credit score. They're going to
do that all at once.
If
you do that over the course of 5 years,
yes,
but
it's
good
not going
point.
to.
But yeah,
point.
so
every time I go up,
exactly. So that another major benefit, I believe, to credit cards. In most cases, there's rewards programs. There's different, as you spend on that card and build up points, you can use those for many different things. You know, cash back, airline miles, merchandise, and different services. The third way I kind of look at a credit card is a way to get you out of emergencies. You know, you find yourself in hard times, you know, that credit is there to really get you through to that next paycheck, that next, next month even sometimes. So
ideally you're not doing all of your everyday purchases on your credit card when you can't pay that off at the end of a month or at the end of a statement period is what that would be called. That would be, if that's what you're doing and you can't pay it off, then you might need to rely on a debit card and make those charges, let them come out of your account so that you're not living beyond your means.
Right.
To DeAndre's point, if you need to make that car repair that it's going to cost me $2,000, I don't have enough in my checking account, let me put that on a credit card and then I can pay that off over the course of 6 months. Then it's just like a loan.
Yes.
But you don't have to take time out to go
fill
apply
out a
for
loan
and fill out a
application and all that.
You got the credit card to act as that loan for you, and I'm going to pay it off to zero and then just have that for the next emergency. So ideally, if you're struggling with managing your money, credit cards might not be right
best for you.
So if you understand the differences between debit and credit card and can live within your means with a debit card and then have that credit card for emergencies, that's great. And DeAndre just brought up
and you want a low interest rate too.
Yeah,
you want a CSE low interest rate because
if you can't pay that off every
it's
month,
even worse,
right?
Because then you really are getting killed.
That's when $100 for my groceries turn into $120 this month, and then $140 next month because I couldn't pay it off.
And you've been paying every month that
don't
minimum.
Just make the minimum payments. Those $25 minimum payments are necessary at times, but they kill you in the long run if you can't pay that debt off.
Yeah, so, especially with a high interest rate.
With a high interest rate, or if you keep making charges to that card.
You're toast. But
DeAndre, real quick, talked about a rewards program. And one of the unique things that CSE offers is a rewards debit card. There are other rewards programs out there, but our debit card is a free card tied to a free checking account that offers rewards with no other fees involved. And that's, I guess I want to make comment about that or mention that.
I need to check on my rewards.
Unique.
I have to have tons of rewards. I don't
Hopefully
even know
you
if
do, and redeem for cash, for credit, for merchandise, goods, trips, sports tickets, all the things. So, right. So,
exactly.
So I guess end of the day, understanding how a debit card works, the money's coming out of your checking account when you make that purchase versus understanding a credit card, and then knowing how you are as a consumer and what is going to fit with your lifestyle.
Right.
Is it, I'm struggling with budgeting, I need to just live off my debit card, and when I run out of money, I'm not getting into worse financial patterns or struggles. But again, knowing how the cards work and understanding the difference between the two is huge,
Absolutely.
especially if you don't know already the differences. So
Love that.
you ever have questions about it? Not you. Well, you too.
Yeah, everybody.
But
Yeah,
anybody.
I love
Wherever
it.
you're listening, you have questions about how your credit or debit card works, look it up online. Google's obviously a great resource.
Sure.
YouTube. Come to the credit union. Call
Love
us.
it.
Give us a call. DeAndre, his team would love to explain that.
that.
Our frontline staff, our tellers, our MSRs help you explain that. Hopefully you're getting that information so you know how to use that card.
Certainly. And while we're talking about things specific to CSC, such as our combined rewards program, I do want to take a second too to just kind of plug this in. There's a common misconception that credit unions, I can only use the ATM that my credit union offers, or I'm going to get fees. Well, a lot of credit unions, CSC being one of those, are part of what's called the ATM Shared Branching Network. Over 30,000 fee-free ATMs throughout the United States available to you pretty much anywhere you go.
Free of charge.
Free of
It's
charge.
amazing.
Like you're walking up to CSC.
30,000.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yes,
That's amazing.
30,000 ATMs. So if you do find yourself out of state, vacationing, and you need to just...
You do want to find yourself out of state sometimes, especially in the winter.
Even just up in Cleveland. Or,
Right, right.
Something like that.
Or Florida, maybe.
There,
Or
on our app,
Hawaii.
there's a locator tool. You can Google it. There's a locator tool. So
Yeah.
that stuff exists.
It's awesome.
So don't pay those ATM fees.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it. There's a
Save
way
your money.
around it. Great stuff. Gentlemen, this was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Thank you.
Might have to have a follow up because I feel like there's so many
I
more
think
things that go into these
so. Oh
cards.
my gosh.
And it's so important to just know how they work and understand what you're getting yourself into. So
This is
reading the fine print, reading disclosures. Sorry.
No,
We're trying to end this.
I mean, these could be classes, and I hope that somebody out there listening to this will play this with their teenagers. Maybe a teacher plays this for their class. Whether you're listening to this podcast or you're watching this as a YouTube video, this is educational, informational. I hope it was entertaining as well. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope you follow this podcast. Hope you listen to this for more. It's not about us. It's about educating people. If you like CSC, if you're in this area, or just any credit union around you, we hope you guys take a chance and check them out, check us out, and continue to follow us. We'll bring you back more information next time. We'll see you guys soon. Have a great day. See you soon.